Yo, what up guys, welcome back to Lorcana with Luke. My name is Luke, and today we have a very cool deck called the Robin Hood Pinger deck, or something like that. It's all about getting our opponent's characters damaged, and then benefiting from that somehow. It's basically built all around this card, Robin's Bow. So Robin's Bow says, it's a 3-cost uninkable item, first of all, and it has 2 abilities. One called Forest's Gift, the other one called A Bit of a Lark. So you can exert Robin's Bow to deal 1 damage to chosen damaged character or location. That's super cool. It doesn't do anything unless it's already damaged, though, which is why we have some other cards to deal damage. And the other ability says A Bit of a Lark. Whenever a character of yours named Robin Hood quests, you may ready this item. And that's fantastic. Even if you have multiple Robin Hood's bow in play and you have one Robin Hood that quests, you can ready up all your Robin's bows. And we have quite a few Robin Hood characters in here. We have this big 6-drop one, got this little 1-drop one, and we have a 2-drop one. We're not running any legendary cards in this list because it is slightly on the budget side, as I like to do. It's only about $40. There are some expensive cards, mostly just this big Tinkerbell here. But the rest of it's pretty budget, so that's pretty fun. So, yeah, now you know what we're building the deck around, right? This is a Robin's Bow, basically, deck. And let's just go over, I guess, one at a time, starting with the 1-drop slot. We have 4 Duke of Wesselton, just a 2-2 for 1. He's a villain, and I think he is also part of the Robin Hood movie franchise, so fits quite nicely. And then we have another 4 1-drops. This is Robin Hood Beloved Outlaw, just a 2-2 hero. And it is, of course, a Robin Hood character, which works really well with the Robin's Bows. And then for the 2-drop slot, we got more Robin Hoods. We have 4 uninkable 2-drop Robin Hood Capable Fighters. This is a 1-3. Quest for 1, and it also has Skirmish ability. You can exert it to deal 1 damage to chosen character. Very cool. So this is going to obviously work really well with Robin's Bow. You can see Robin Hood Capable Fighter has Robin's Bow in his hand right there. That's pretty cool. So yeah, that'll get the ball rolling and start dealing some damage with Robin Hood Capable Fighter. Then we have 3 copies of Helga Sinclair Vengeful Partner. This is just a 2-1, inkable 2-drop with nothing personal. When this character is challenged and banished, banish the challenging character. So this is a very good card. You can aggressively quest with it, as well as it's also mostly in here just so it can shift into the big Helga Sinclair. So we're running 3 big Helga Sinclairs as well to go with our 3 little Helga Sinclairs. This one is an uninkable 5-drop, but it's a 4-4 that quests for 2, but it does shift for 3, which is super good because Helga comes down on 2. So the big Helga Sinclair Femme Fatale can come down on 3 right after. Whenever this character quests, you may deal 3 damage to chosen damaged character. So another really good payoff for having damaged opposing characters. This changes everything, she says. That's her ability name. So this is a super, super good card. Dealing 3 damage to a damaged character is almost certainly going to take it out. But let's quickly go over the 3-drop slot to see how we can do more damage. We have 2 copies of Plasma Blaster with, it's an item, uninkable 3-drop item, with Quick Shot. You can exert it, and you have to pay another 2 ink to deal 1 damage to chosen character. So this is an interesting way to start dealing little bits of damage, and this, of course, is an item, so it works pretty good with the Robin's Bow. If your opponent is playing like a very heavy removal deck that just removes all of your characters, you can still deal with a lot of threats with just a few items in play, and exerting some ink and exerting these bows, and you can really take out a lot of stuff. And it's pretty uninteractable because a lot of people do not run item hate, item destruction. And if they do, they're going to have to, probably do something that they wouldn't normally want to do to try and remove these Plasma Blasters or the Robin's Bow, which are really useful cards. We also have another payoff for having damaged characters in play on our opponent's side. We have Ring the Bell, an inkable 3-drop action. Banish chosen damaged character. Just straight up remove the character, but they have to be damaged first. So this is essentially Dragonfire but it's inkable. It costs 2 less. It's in green. And, of course, they have to be damaged, so it's slightly worse. But in this deck, where we have so much damage, this is super easy to... This is just... We're just running 3 insta-kill cards, which is fantastic. Instantly kill anything with those. Just banish them, ring that bell. So for the 3-drop slot, we have a couple more characters to mention. We got Tinkerbell Tiny Tactician. It's a 2/4, inkable 3-drop as well with battle plans. You can exert it to draw a card, then choose and discard a card. That's not really important, but it is a 3-drop Tinkerbell, which can shift into the 4-drop Tinkerbell, and this one is fantastic. It is Tinkerbell Giant Fairy, a 4/5 that quests for 2, shifts for 4, right? So right on turn 4, after playing Little Tinkerbell on turn 3, you can shift it, and it can attack right away since this Tinkerbell would be ready to go. Rock the Boat. When you play this character, you deal 1 damage to each opposing character. And Puny Pirate. During your turn, whenever this character banishes another character in a challenge, you can deal 2 damage to chosen opposing character. So that's just a lot of damage. So this is a great board wipe for 1 damage, as well as it can attack stuff and take stuff out with even more damage. And that's fantastic. We also have, I forgot to mention, we also have a small Floodborn theme. But I'll go over that with Chief Bogo. So, but to finish off the 3-drop slot, let's quickly go over Cheshire Cat. Not all there. We do have the foil Cheshire Cats, and you can see their eyes glow and their teeth glow. It's very cool. I like this foil quite a bit. It's one of my favorites. So it's an inkable 3-drop. It's a 0/3. Quest for 2, though, which is great, and it says lose something. When this character is challenged and banished, banish the challenging character. So they're really going to have to think about taking this out. This is really going to cost them a lot of resources to take this out, but they're going to have to think about it because it quests for 2, and it's just 3-drop. So it's a very, very solid card on its own. But again, one of the major reasons we're running it is because we are shifting into a big Cheshire Cat, and this one is extremely good with our game plan. It basically has an ability that is called Wicked Smile. You can exert Cheshire Cat from the shadows to banish chosen damaged character. So that's the same effect as ringing the bell. Banish chosen damaged character. But this one, you can do it repeatedly on an evasive 5/6 body that can quest for 2 as well. But you can't quest for 2 if you're going to be banishing chosen damaged characters. You got to think about that. But this card is 8 cost to play. It's extremely expensive, but it is inkable, which is, the nice part about it. But it's way more reasonable if you just pay 5 to shift this on top of your other Cheshire Cat, which is why we have that other Cheshire Cat there. But yeah, 8 is entirely unreasonable. But this is a Floodborn, which we have the Chief Bogo that cares about Floodborns, which I'll talk about in just a second. But I really like the combo with Robin Hood, Capable Fighter, or I guess even Plasma Blaster, right? Plasma Blaster, 1 damage. Robin Hood, 1 damage, and then Cheshire Cat, banish that character. So, for example, if your opponent has, let's say, just 2 characters in play, Robin Hood and Cheshire Cat, you really can't play anything unless you want it to get banished. You play anything, Robin Hood deals 1, Cheshire Cat kills it. Go ahead. Try again. And it's just such a very good combo. I really like the combo of these steel damage cards with the green banish cards with the ring the bells and the Cheshire Cats. So yeah, there's that guy. Let's go over the 4-drop slot now. We have a few 4-drops to mention. This is an uninkable 4-drop called Chief Bogo Respected Officer. It's a 2/4, not bad stats, and quest for 2, not bad at all. But it does have an ability called Insubordination. Whenever you play a Floodborn character, deal 1 damage to each opposing character. Wow. So that's essentially the first part of Tinkerbell. That's essentially rocking the boat. Rock the boat. So yeah, the cool part about Chief Bogo is it's basically repeatable board wipe. You don't even have to quest with it. You can kind of just leave it sitting there, and your opponents are going to be super scared about it. And as soon as you play a Floodborn character... imagine if you play a Tinkerbell after the Chief Bogo, and Tinkerbell itself deals 1 damage to each opposing character. Chief Bogo will deal 1 damage to each opposing character. So just by playing a Tinkerbell, you essentially do a free grab your sword if you just combo Chief Bogo with Tinkerbell. So we're not running too many Floodborns. We do have the 3 Helga Sinclairs that are Floodborn. We got the 4 Tinkerbells that are Floodborn, and we have the 4 Cheshire Cats that are Floodborn. So, not too many, but there are enough, I think, to make Chief Bogo a threat. But yeah, maybe adding in those Floodborn Robin Hoods that are legendary once you get a little bit more money for the budget would be even more synergy with Chief Bogo. Add even more shift targets for this Robin Hood would be fantastic. I just don't have any of those legendary Robin Hoods. They're just extremely expensive. So this is my budget version of this deck, and it's pretty fun. So last but not least in the 4-drop slot, actually wait, we have like way more 4-drops to talk about. What am I talking about? Not last at all. We got Hans, 13th in line, an inkable 4-drop. It's a 3/3 quest for 2. Love anything that quests for 2. But he's got that ability called Stage a Little Accident. Whenever this character quests, you may deal 1 damage to chosen character. So this is fantastic. You can both get 2 lore a turn and deal 1 damage to a character at the same time. The amount of pressure this guy puts on is crazy. You're always going up in lore, and you're always dealing damage to your opposing characters. And that 1 damage can be massive, right? That 1 damage can help trigger the Robin's bows, and you can just, start taking stuff out. Or we do have these 2 copies of Pack Tactics. I guess it's a good time to go over these. This is an action card that just says gain 1 lore for each damaged character opponents have in play. So imagine you're playing a multiplayer game, and your opponents each have like 3 things in play. You deal like 1 damage to everything with like a Tinkerbell, or maybe, just a Chief Bogo trigger of some sort. And you could easily gain like 9 lore from this immediately, right? If your opponents have like 9 characters in play that are all damaged, you just gain 9 lore immediately. So the ceiling of this card is super high. Like, the potential of this card is through the roof. However, the floor of this card is pretty bad, right? It can literally do nothing. You can pay 4, your opponents might have no characters in play, no damage characters in play, and it could do nothing. So for that reason, we're running 2 copies, but I think it's pretty exciting. I think it could be a surprise amount of lore out of nowhere. Your opponents might not be expecting it. It also scales well with multiplayer. By the way, this whole deck actually scales pretty well with multiplayer. Tinkerbell hits everything. Chief Bogo hits everything. So I feel like this could be a good multiplayer deck as well. And Pack Tactics, great way to seal off a game. Couple copies of that. All right, then we got some really cool Beast Forbidden Recluses. These are just commons, but they have a really cool ability. It's a 3/4 quest for 1. And its ability is called You're Not Welcome Here. When you play this character, you may deal 1 damage to chosen character. So this is good. Like with the Hans 13th in line, you have to quest to get that damage, but it is repeatable. But the Beast is basically just you play it immediately, you deal that 1 damage immediately, you get that value, and you're left with a 3/4 instead of a 3/3, but it only quests for 1. So it's pretty comparable to Hans. It's not too bad, but it is a little bit worse because it's not repeatable damage. But it's still a good card. I like the effect to deal 1 immediately when you play it. And I believe the only card I haven't talked about yet is the most simple card of them all, Robin Hood Daydreamer, a 4/5 that quests for 4. And it's an inkable 6-drop. So why are we running this? It's basically just because its name is Robin Hood. And the Robin's Bow cares about characters named Robin Hood questing. So... But also, it quests for 4, so like who would complain about a card that quests for 4? And it's only 6. Like, we can get to 6 in this deck. There's not a lot of card draw in this deck, you might be wondering, but it's got a lot of removal, and I think removal and card draw are actually quite similar. The way you look at it is basically like kind of like 1 for 1, Like, if I spend 1 card to remove 1 card, it's kind of like a fair trade. And a lot of the cards in this deck are going to be removing cards, and we're going to be going positive on those 1-for-1 exchanges. We're going to be removing stuff for free, which means I don't actually think you need as much card draw on this deck. I could be wrong, but I've played this deck a few times. Also, side note, it's really good against Ursula. Really good against Ursula, because you just have so much removal, you can just start removing all of Ursula's stuff. It might not work against the most extreme version of Ursula, that's a little bit too crazy. But I had a very easy time with this deck against Ursula on normal mode. I didn't try easy mode or hard mode or extreme. Actually, I tried extreme after, and we got destroyed. I basically played 2 games of it. And yeah, this deck was completely disgusting. It had this crazy combo where I just had like many Robin Hoods and many Robin Hood bows and this little Robin Hood, and I was just pinging everything they put out. Had a big Helga Sinclair, so I pinged one thing, dealt 3 more damage to it. Can basically take out anything with 4 health or less immediately after they play it, with just stuff I had on board, by just using 1 damage with Robin Hood and 3 damage with Helga whenever she quests. Like, basically very cool. If you can get the setup in this deck, I think you can win against a lot of decks. It's a very cool deck. But yeah, with that being said, try this deck out on Pixelborn. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm interested to see what you could think about the style of videos I produce. Like, maybe you prefer the gameplay on Pixelborn afterwards. I used to do that a little bit, but yeah, just let me know. But yeah, Lorcana with Luke out, and we'll catch you guys next time. Peace!